Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock with the asset protection, estate planning, and business planning firm Barth Calderon. This is our channel, Wealth Protector TV, where we give back to you with amazing guests doing really incredible things. And certainly, Mahyar Ghassemian is one of those guests. Welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, of course, I know this, but you're the founder of the Ghassemian Law Group. And I want to get into how you got started in the business. It's a construction firm doing great things, headquartered here out of Orange County, where we are. And so, Maya, how did you get into the business? And then I want to talk about what actually you do and your discipline.
So I have a master's degree in physics, and I went to law school a few years later. When I finished law school, I was interviewed by a firm that everybody there were engineers. They were doing construction defect litigation. They wanted someone with a technical background who could look at plans and numbers, and their eyes won't get all glassy. And so uh, they liked my background specifically for the area of law. And then I got into construction law. We were doing mostly defect at that point. And then later it became very broad spectrum construction practice. I also started doing business litigation because business and construction go hand in hand. All construction companies are businesses. And then we expanded into real estate law. A couple of years ago, we took over a smaller firm. I was with different firms, larger firms, and then I started this practice in October 2010, and we will be celebrating 15 years in practice this October.
Awesome. Not easy growing the business. So congratulations on that. Yeah, so specifically on the construction, who are your clients? What size of client, and what are some of the common issues that are coming up that you're focused on?
So we represent mostly construction companies, but from time to time we represent the other side as well, maybe homeowners of larger size estates, maybe business owners. We do a lot of business litigation as well, builders, etc. And I've done construction law for 25 years, so it's gone the gamut. We have sort of a niche in construction law because we're one of the very few firms that do anything soup to nuts with construction. We've represented clients in very large size real estate development projects with their construction issues. We have represented some clients, national chains such as Turner and Whiting Turner and Swinnerton. And we've also represented some homeowners with specific issues. The size usually in the construction and contractor business, they're usually around 15 million and up. We have some clients upwards of 400 million in revenue, but mostly in the 15 to 75 million dollars a year revenue, where there's a need for legal services and they actually have a legal budget
Yeah,
to allocate to our services. But also, one of the best ways to think of us is somebody that gets sued and they have a construction company or regular business, real estate, they're in real estate, we're there.
Interesting. And you mentioned Swinnerton. I live up in the Bay Area. I think they're headquartered in San Francisco, and over the years, I've gotten to know a few people over there. Great company, but I'm also thinking as you're talking, it just has been incredible to me. I followed the story. There's a major high rise in San Francisco that was built a while ago that has shifted, right? So the ground underneath, and it was a massive, multi-billion-dollar project. People living there, retail, and the lawsuits have been nonstop forever. So that is an example of something you'd get involved with. But I've just been fascinated because there's so many people
You're
involved in
talking,
that. Like
you're
if I
talking
could
about
lay it,
Millennium. You're talking about Millennium
Millennium,
Tower.
Millennium Tower, Millennium
I've
Tower.
given a few presentations about Millennium Tower
Oh,
and
is that right?
what happened there and why did it start sinking and shifting, because it was sinking up until a few years ago when the repairs came, sinking and then sort of tilting at the same time.
Yeah,
One of the a project that was meant to be the premium place to live.
right.
They had celebrity spokespeople. They had people that paid 12 million back in 2008 for the penthouse suite. And then all of a sudden, all these issues. Yes, a lot of lawsuits came out of it. And the reason for that was because um, all of that area where the Millennium Tower is located. It's kind of next to Salesforce Tower in San Francisco on Mission. And what all of that area is fill, meaning it is dirt that had been imported at some point back in the 1900s, put there, and there's all kinds of stuff. It was dredged, part of it from under the bay. And so they need to really go down to what they call bedrock to get into to anchor the buildings, especially if they're from a certain height up. And this particular one had not been anchored properly. And you should not get me started on that because I could geek out on it forever. But
Well,
it was a
Maya,
fascinating project.
a fascinating project. What is amazing to me is that something that expensive at that level, that a mistake that massive can be made. I mean, I just you're like you got to be kidding me. I mean, unbelievable.
It can be, there could be a lot of mistakes, but what we are seeing a lot these days, because
Yeah,
those types of defects, contracting companies have insurance counsel to defend them, which is what I did in the first 11 years of my practice. But in the last 14 and a half, close to 15 years, we do a lot more. We do a lot of payment issues. So large size contractors, we were one of the preferred attorneys for the Rams Stadium up in LA, the entire project. We have quite a few clients that are now involved in the LAX area, and with the LAX remodeling. And what happens most of the time these days, the lawsuits are coming out of payment disputes. One party doesn't get paid on time, doesn't pay the other party, and there's a lot of issues that come along with that. Mechanics liens, stop notices for public projects, it's stop notices. So all of those are things that are a little bit outside what a purely business litigator can do.
yeah.
In fact, when we receive complaints filed, we can tell within 2 minutes if this was drafted by someone who's not in construction law.
Oh, interesting, interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you find that when somebody's getting sued on these big projects, are there personal are there personal liabilities with the individual people in these cases?
That's a very good question. What happens is that um, depending on the size of the contractor, most of the larger size, the Turners and the Whiting Turners and Swinnertons, they're built structurally in terms of, when I say built, the legal structure has been properly set in place. So personal liability is usually not part of it unless there's fraud issues, and the directors and officers of the company did something beyond the course and scope of what they should have done that was proper for the company. But for the smaller projects, and when I'm saying smaller, for instance, we currently have a project where it was about $33 million project, and our client was the contractor. There are personal liability
Yeah.
issues because what they do, they come and sue the company and the major owner, majority owner of the company. And unless everything has been set up properly, then what happens is there could be personal liability. That's one of
Yeah.
the first things we look at to try to insulate the majority stockholder or all the partners from personal liability.
Yeah, how how small of a case would you look at? Because I'm thinking of cases, we've seen at the asset protection firm where, a realtor sells a, $6 million home, something happens and they're getting sued for, a couple million. I mean, things like that, they're huge, but are those things too small for you?
Actually, as long as the client has the ability to pay and
Yeah,
they've been sued and they understand the value of expert advice, we will take them on. We will not take anything less than $100,000 at stake for lawsuits.
right, right,
Do
right.
we have smaller cases? Yes, when they come to us to draft their contracts because they are done with a lawsuit, they've bled through all the attorney's fees and expert fees, etc. And they ask us to review the contracts and they ask us to draft contracts because I am very much involved with contracts. I'm on the legal committee of two major construction associations. And with those, we draft the contracts and it could just cost a few thousand.
Yeah. What is the first thing you do? If someone has a lawsuit and they hire you, what is the first thing that takes place? Your first meeting is it a listening, exploration or what are you doing?
So we have a really good intake process. An intake person will take the story of what the client is saying and then goes through the process of signing the client up, talk back and forth with the attorneys. But as soon as they hire us, then we schedule an initial call, which is fact finding on a deeper level. We ask them to send us their documents. Now, if they're in a lawsuit, we want to see a copy of the lawsuit and the papers that were developed that were delivered to them. We also want to see a copy of the contract on which the lawsuit is based, because majority of these lawsuits involve breach of contract claims. We want to see what's at stake. What's that issue? For instance, if they're talking about, well, this company didn't pay us and now they're suing us because they're saying we didn't do a good job. So now we want to look at all the invoices that were paid, what was owed. So a lot of the contracts and documents, etc., photos, and that gets done and that process continues. Hopefully the client gives us everything they have, but whatever they don't have, then after we determine if we're going to file a responsive pleading, if it's going to be an answer on a demur. A demur is basically something that says this complaint is not legally sufficient. And then after that goes into a process of discovery where all the parties involved will have to answer questions from someone else. We call those interrogatories. They would have to produce their documents, and then there is some motion practice, etc. Our policy is to try to resolve cases through settlement as soon as we can. Why? Because both arbitration is very expensive. Arbitration is like um going to trial in a private forum, and Courts take forever nowadays, so both arbitration and court take a long time. I mean, you file a case in court, chances are you won't get a trial date for 2 years, maybe more
Wow.
in civil cases. Yes. So trying
Oh,
to position the case strategically so we can resolve through mediation. Mediation is where there's a neutral that is a judge or an experienced attorney that would talk to both parties, try to bring them closer and resolve the case.
how is real estate, your real estate discipline different from construction? And what's your focus in real estate?
So the difference between construction and real estate is that in construction, we're dealing with the people that actually build. It could be buildings, it could be streets. I've been involved in a flood control channel. It could be the bottom of a lake. Literally, all of these come within construction, and either the defects or the breach of contract and other payment issues and different things that arise from actual building of things. Real estate deals with rights to buildings, rights to different things. So in real estate, you're talking about title issues, you're talking about, we had a house in Dana Point that had a phenomenal view, and the next door neighbor bypassed all homeowners association rules and built a wall that completely obstructed that view. So now the house value goes down from 4 million to 2 million.
Yeah,
See what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Those types of issues, real estate, or when there's a property dispute, saying, I have rights to this property, no, I have rights, things of that nature, those come under real estate, whereas construction is just dealing with whatever happens during the building and sometimes up to 10 years after, because there's a very long period of time where people can bring claims in court for construction. It's 10 years on the
Oh,
outer limit. We call that statute of limitations.
interesting. And Maya, are you practicing in California only or outside of the state?
Okay, so we are a California licensed attorney. Attorneys, we have one attorney who is both licensed in California and Texas, so we can take on some Texas cases as well. From time to time, people come to us with contract issues in different states, and then we do some research and see if those states actually allow mostly there's no reciprocity, but they allow attorneys that practice in another state to look at contracts, get involved, and then if we need to go to court, we bring local attorney and we petition to the court to go in. But mostly we're in California, although we do have a very broad, California reach. We have some clients in Northern California, Central California, and
Okay.
Southern California.
And what about an initial consultation? Do you do those? Do you charge for those? Are those free or how does it work?
So we have very experienced non-attorneys that consult with the client. So there's an intake, and then there's a non-attorney that brings the intake to an attorney, gets responses if need be, and consults with the client. And if there's a need and it's a larger client, absolutely, we come in, attorneys come in to help the client realize what value we can bring to the table.
Got it. Okay. Then they engage with you and you're moving forward from that point
Correct,
on.
correct.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I want to tell everybody listening that wherever you're watching this, because we stream it everywhere, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, that Myers information will be around this video. Maybe it's up here, down here. Get connected for sure. And very interesting to me, as you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, our firms are aligned, but I want to thank you for doing this. Really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on.
If
Yeah,
I may add one more thing that I
please,
forgot
please.
to say, I had a team of 7 attorneys, and we have 18 total staff. So we're able to take the larger projects, and because all of our attorneys are extremely experienced, we're talking 28, 30 years of experience, we are able to go against the national firms, the big guys. All of us come from large firm backgrounds, so that's good to keep in mind, that we provide the same degree of excellent advice you would get from much larger firms in a more personal way. And
Love it.
I really appreciate your giving us the chance to do this with you. And we look forward to a lot more collaboration between our firms.
Thank you. Yeah, us too. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.